Hello YouTubes, this is Grimweird coming back at you with more Enigmatica 2 Expert Mod Pack playthrough action for Minecraft 1.12.2. So when last I left you, we had taken out a couple of Tier 5 dragon dens underground, thanks to the scanner by Scannables and scanning for either chests or piles of gold or piles of silver. And at the end of that episode, I just kept going because I was on a roll. So I took out another 5 Tier 5 dragon things. So I think last episode you got to meet Saffron here. So this is a bronze dragon. A loud bronze dragon with the gold dragon armor on. I was also able to track down some silver dragons, Tier 5s, scanning for, again, chests and piles of silver, because they have piles of silver. So over here, I'd like you to meet Niska. Niska is a blue ice dragon wearing the diamond dragon armor. He's a male. Now, I got them separated because I'm not exactly sure that fire dragons and ice dragons like each other, and I'm not really that keen on doing a bunch of breeding of them. I can fly faster than they can, so it's like more I just wanted to cross these off my bucket list. And so I have a couple dragons. What else is going on? There's tons of little things that I've been doing. Let's see. If we go back down to, since we're getting back into tech stuff, there's some stuff that I wanted to take care of. So, for instance, I used to have one metal press, and it wasn't automated. And I tried to offload some of it to the Industrialcraft 2 metal formers, but they were sort of slow, and I just wasn't digging them. So what I did was I finally just buckled down and figured out how to, oops, and I haven't powered this last guy that I just made. Finally buckled down and figured out how to automate these guys. So now I've got 5 of them, 2 for plates because I have more than 9 types of plates to make. So this one's making the copper, the uranium, gold, tin, bronze, iron, lead, aluminum, and then I've also got more that I can make over here, like the steel, Invar, and iron large plates. We've got one for gears. It's making a bunch of gears, and I might have to add a second one for gears, although I'll probably be good with that. And then I got one for rods. We're headed towards advanced rocketry, and advanced rocketry has a bunch of like titanium iridium alloy rods and titanium aluminide rods. So I went ahead and set up those because I knew we were going to be needing more rods. And then the wires. These guys you can't even offload into things like the Industrialcraft 2 metal formers. They pretty much have to be made on an Immersive Engineering metal press. So I'm sort of happy with how this came together. I was a little confused about how to get this automated, but it turns out that you could stick your ME interface right at the end of its conveyor, and you can actually just sort of click on the conveyor like that when you add it. And then I don't know, I tried an input bus and it didn't seem to be working. So I'm not sure if you can have an import bus here, but I did figure out that you can definitely have an ME interface here, and this conveyor belt will insert your final product into the ME interface. And since I have plenty of resources these days, I just went ahead and did that, because if I had tried to make an import bus work, if an import bus could work, then I would have to expand its range out with slots, and then teach it what it could accept, and it would have just been, a pain in the butt. So I just went with the ME ones for ease. The other thing I did was I actually had to learn, so you can see I've got some pipes hidden in the ceiling. So I learned how to do the use the cable facades. You can see I'm pointing at a cable facade instead of an actual full laboratory block. So what used to be, we used to have a pipe coming down here, and now I took this away since we have the wireless one that we can use. Took those terminals away and then ran that pipe through the ceiling over to here, and now I've got all of this hooked up into our ME system. So that is cool, and it chooches. So if we go like, if I tell it to, what do I always need more of these. So if I give it some of that, and then I say, give me some of this. And you can see that each one of these is dedicated to a different type of thing. So these have these plates that you put in them. So you can see these are both the plate stamping press molds or whatever they call them. Whereas this one is the, there you have the rod one and there you have the wire one. So that's how I'm controlling this, is that I just have dedicated metal presses for these dedicated molds that you make through here, the metal press molds for plate, gear, rod, and wire. So I'm happy with how that turns out, and it's noticeably faster than trying to get things through an industrial craft metal former. So yay that. I wish I'd done that several episodes or more ago. What else am I working on? Draconium. So, well, first thing is I upgraded my ore miner to tier 6. So this one supposedly does less of the common ores, but it will give you rare stuff. And the reason I went ahead and did it is because we need to start building up some draconium, which this thing makes. But when I first put it on here, it was sucking up 4.6 million RF per tick, and it was hauling so much ass that I was making way more ore than I needed. And that's with the maximum speed upgrades. The red dots are the speed upgrades, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the rest of them are accuracy, which apparently gives you a better chance of getting what we want. I put a purple laser lens in there because purple gives you a better chance of getting draconium. And if we take a look at what's going on in our system, so when I started this, I had 200 and some draconium ore, and I am now up to 17,000 dust, 100 blocks, and 12,000 draconium ore. So I'm about ready to turn this damn thing off, and I'll tell you why in a bit, other than the fact that I've got 12,000 draconium ore, so that might last me a bit. So then, if we take a look at what to do with the draconium, so if we hover over that and hit U, usually you want to do some sort of ore doubling, so you want to do like some sort of crusher, which gives you 2, or pulverizer, which gives you 2, or macerator, which gives you a couple of crushed thingy boobers, and etc., etc. So it looked like 2 was the answer, but I sort of already knew that if you break the ore with a Fortune 3 pick, you actually average 7.5. So obviously that's way better than getting 2 per ore. So I wanted to set something up to do that. So that's what I've got over here. And I just sort of whipped this up real quick, so it's sort of ugly. But what I've got going on here is an industrial foregoing block placer, which will place draconium blocks here. And then here I've got a mechanical user from extra utilities too. And in it, I created a Supremium X. which is now up to heroic. That's funny. So this probably bears some talking about. So what I did to make this pickaxe, I wanted to make a pickaxe for my mechanical user that was unbreakable and had looting 3. So what I did was, you can, let me just show you that because I think that's an important tip. Most people probably know this if you've played with tinkers a lot, but I think it bears talking about. So you can make paper things, and what it has, the thing that it has on it is writable, so it gives you an extra modifier. So in other words, if this thing would have started with like 1 or 2 or 0 modifiers available, this pick, if I make all the pieces out of writable, it turned out that what I got was actually at like 0 experience, it had 4 modifier slots. And what that let me do was then put reinforcement, these guys on it. So the reinforcements, each reinforcement you add provides a 20% additive chance that you don't take a durability loss when you use it. So right out of the bat, I had a paper pickaxe with an 80% chance reinforcement of not using any damage. Now the damn thing was horrible, and it only had like, I don't know, a couple hundred durability. It was just a mess, but I didn't really need it for that long. So what I did was I took that thing and I just ran over to my strip mine that I've been running over here forever. And as you can see, just been, this is where I come whenever I need experience or to level up any kind of pickaxe. But I just tore into the walls a bit. It only took 1 vein mine to break it, but that 1 vein mine that broke it actually gave it most of what it needed for its 5th modifier. So then I came over, fixed it with paper, ran back out there, vein mined it again, broke it again, and boom, I had my 5th modifier. I put in the 5th reinforcement, and now it was unbreakable. And that took me all of like, several minutes to make that unbreakable one. And then once it was unbreakable, I ran back out there and I tore the walls up for 10-15 minutes and got it like, several more levels real quick. And then I could come back and I took it and I made it. I put Fortune 3 on it so that we would get good yields from breaking our Draconium. And then I started swapping things out. So to get it a good enough mining level, I swapped out the paper pickaxe head with a Supremium pickaxe head. I swapped out the handle, the paper handle with an osmium handle so that it would spew XP for us. Did I swap out the... Oh yeah, I swapped out the binder in the middle with the Osgil-glass binding so that it could send the Draconium that it mines straight to my ME system, because I linked it to my input chest for my ME system. So basically this thing became like a real badass real quick. And then when I gave it to my guy, it started spewing, the osmium caused it to start spewing experience orbs, and I thought, well heck, I should just go ahead and capture those. So I made an XP vacuum from Ender.io, and once you put a little XP into it, which I did by piping it out of my experience obelisk into the XP vacuum, that primed it and it turned green, and then it started sucking up vacuum or experience all on its own. So then I put that there to suck things up, and then I'm piping it out into a reinforced drum and then sucking it up into the experience obelisk. So now I have 135 levels worth of experience in here that I've gotten for free from my... Actually, I'm going to put what I got on me in there too. From this guy breaking Draconium blocks. And then I had to put up these walls because the the experience orbs were sort of spraying everywhere. But let's show you how that works. So if we give this some more to chew up. Oh, I think I've got it paused as well. I was a little worried that this thing was causing me some lag, so... Okay, so you can see that the it has placed a block there, but I have this guy paused. It is using upper left slot only, because that's where I put the Supremium pickaxe. It's left clicking with it, a generic click. And if we turn this back to always on, you can see, boom, it breaks things. And the Draconium is going straight to my ME system import box, and the experience is going into the vacuum there. And this thing is now heroic, which is really high level. It probably has more. Does it even have more? I guess it doesn't have anything yet, more modifiers available to it yet. But I went ahead and put a little bit of haste on it too, so it's up to 3 levels of haste as well. So it just goes right through that Draconium. And so anyway, that is how I've gotten from all of this ore that we're getting from our tier 6 void ore miner to now 18,000 Draconium dust. Jeez, it's adding up quick. I'm going to go turn that off pretty soon. Can always turn it back on if we need it. Oh, that's right. I'm going to go ahead and craft, say, 1,000 ingots. So that's going good. That was one of the things that we sort of needed to get started so that when we do move from advanced rocketry on to the in-game and draconic evolution, we aren't slowed down by suddenly needing a gazillion Draconium and not having any. So let's see what else is going on. I did make a stab at closing out some more since I made the tier 6 void miner from environmental tech. We got these two closed out, so we're getting real close to the end of environmental tech. I made the solar array tier 4, but then slammed hard into this tier 5 guy. This tier 5 guy takes all this, and what's really kicking my ass are these high voltage solar arrays. And I can show you why that's kicking my ass if we look here. So I've set them up into my ME system. Even if I can't really make them in my ME system, sometimes it's good just to show me why I can't make them. So this is all the stuff we need to do to make those. And there was insulated tin cables. These all needed rubber or plastic. So there's 1,000 rubber or plastic. There was some other big ones in here. I already made those just to sort of have them ready for us. But basically what was really kicking our ass was the need for a lot of rubber or plastic. And so I had to sort of scramble to get rubber and plastic production going up. I had, and this is sort of a jumbled, cobbled together mess. I had a couple of tree fluid extractors. I had 3 of them pointed at logs going into a latex processing unit. That was not giving me latex for plastic anywhere near fast enough to, just suddenly go, hey, I need 1,000 plastic. So what I did was I moved here. I'm using a placer. It's almost out of rubber tree again. So now I set up a second station, and I've got them both placing logs, rubber wood logs up into there. So now I can point 4 tree fluid extractors into them. I got the tree fluid, the latex that's being pulled out, pumped into now 2 latex processing units to be mixed with water. And then I've got the resulting tiny dry rubber going out to an ender chest so that we can keep things moving. So that's going into my ME system. I also took some, I wanted to experiment with different methods of getting either rubber or plastic. So I brought the extractor out of mothballs to see how fast and how much it gave. It was definitely faster than this progress, but the yield wasn't any better. Um, and then finally, I decided, hey, I should actually just make a real farm. I'm not much of a farm crafter in that I usually prefer to do more mining than I do growing things. But I decided that we just weren't going to get where we wanted to be with this limited stuff that we were doing. So what I did was I wanted to experiment with some of the farming techniques that I now have available to me that I've never used before. So what we've got here is I just sort of, looked in the packs and said, okay, what makes things grow fast, and what might harvest me some rubber. And for growing fast, I made some fertilized dirt from random things, and then sprinklers from cyclic. So the sprinklers, basically each sprinkler every once in a while gives something in a big radius a 40% chance of having a bone meal type growth spurt. And so I put a bunch of these around, so now every time a sapling comes out, when a sapling comes out, theoretically, that has lots of chances to get that put on it. And the fertilized dirt also has bone meal and rotten flesh sewed into it, so it also causes things to grow 3 times faster. Now it turns out that this is not doing exactly what I wanted or hoped. What I had hoped was that this farming station from Ender.io, which I had in the bank because I had to make one to close out the Ender.io chapter, I thought I'd give it a try. So I gave it, I went ahead and made my obsidian mattock unbreakable, and I gave it that to act as what I thought was going to be an axe and a hoe, and was hoping that it would grow trees and break them and give me tons and tons of rubber tree logs to go into my extractor. But it actually will do that for other trees, but for the rubber tree, it will not chop them down because it thinks you want to get the sticky resin out. So with rubber trees, it demands that you put in a tree tap. So I made a dark tree tap, which has a lot more durability than the normal wooden tree tap. And I put that in there. So this has been chugging along, and it occasionally spits out some sticky resin, which I can then smelt into rubber. And it's doing an okay job. I got a decent capacitor in there with a global level of 2.77. It's cooking along. It's very, very low maintenance. I don't have to do anything. And it's been pumping out, I don't know, a few hundred sticky resins per hour while I've been AFK or just letting this run in the background. So, it's doing good. It's not ideal. I think there's room for a lot of improvement. One of the things I think people do is so these rubber trees develop a little sap thing like this. And I think what people do to make this faster, you can see it took it off. So it lets it grow, and then it takes it off, and then occasionally, I don't know what it does eventually, but it seems to keep running. I think what people do is I don't know exactly how this works. I think what people do is in mod packs where they have the ability to do it through something like a moving wand, they grab the logs that have resin nodes on them, and they suck them out of the tree and then put them back down. Like this guy, they would take just this log and put it back down, and then they have tons of that kind of block here, and that speeds things up. But I don't think I have a moving wand, and I'm not that worried about it, because as we could see from my example of how horrible this crafting was going to be, I think we can actually now have enough. I think we actually now have enough to auto craft our two bad boys. Well, we have enough, but 125,000 bytes is a lot of bytes, and I don't have a CPU that big, and I'm not really ready to make a CPU that big. So what I do for this is that I can just pick out certain ones of these. So it's like, okay, I know I need to craft 9,276 iron plates, so I'll just do that. So we'll go iron plates. And we'll see what happens if we try like this. 27,940, that's much more doable. And so now we've got our new automated metal press setup just running in the background. So I'm going to have to take that apart unless I wanted to upgrade my ME system, which I might do. I've just got a lot of things going on right at the moment, so I haven't done it yet. What else is going on? I've been doing a lot of stuff the last few hours, but I didn't film a lot of it because I was sort of going in all different directions. I was like, okay, we'll make this. No, I'll make this. I'll make this. I'll make that. And I was sort of all over the place. But progress is being made. Oh, that's the other thing I did. So the other thing I did was, and this is actually sort of a big deal, and I sort of do want to do it on camera just because I made... So I got a little freaked out when I turned on the tier 6 vein miner and it started using 4.6 million RF per tick. Now it turns out that that is vast overkill, so I've throttled it down to I only allow it to use 500,000 RF per tick, and we are still getting a crap ton of Draconium. So I'm fine, and I shouldn't have panicked. But when I was panicking, before I realized that I could throttle it down a lot and still get tons and tons of Draconium, I decided it was about time that we upgrade our Nuclearcraft Fusion Reactor, this bad boy. So this room is obviously much bigger than this. When I started this guy up, I went with a toroid size of 4. So you can see it's toroid size 4. It's making 1.6 million RF per tick. The 4 comes from 3 spacers and then this row. But we've got enough room to, go like... quite a bit more in this room. The only reason I didn't make it bigger when I started out was because I didn't think I had enough power to get it ignited. But now I'm sure I have a ton of power to get it ignited. So I've made another 160 or so electromagnets so that we can spread this ring out to, I think it's going to be all the way out to like here, if I calculated things right, which should give us probably not double, but it should definitely give us 2 point something million RF per tick. So that'll give us a little buffer. So I don't think I'll do that right this moment, but maybe next episode we'll tear this down and rebuild it bigger. So the other things that I was working on, because I thought I might do that, was I upgraded our induction matrix. I added another floor to it, so it's got 2 more things internal to it. It now has, and it's filled up. So yeah, we're about ready to do our business. So it used to have 200 billion RF in it, and I increased its capacity. So now our induction matrix battery is holding 614 billion RF. So now if we take down this this fusion reactor, I should have plenty of power to hold us over while I get it set back up and running good again. And that's another reason why I told you there was another reason why I was going to turn off our tier 6 void miner. Not only because we have thousands, tens of thousands approaching of Draconium, but also because, I can turn this off, and then our power consumption for the base, if we turn that off and we have our UU matter off, and this operation is consuming about 12,000 per tick. But on the whole, if we turn off all our mining situations, our draw right now we're at 580,000. We can get that down to probably 20, 30, 40,000, and then have a backup of 614 billion RF. So basically, the upgrade of this and the turning off of the tier 6 void miner gives me the confidence to tear down our fusion reactor and rebuild it bigger and better and faster and meaner and more RF. So that's probably what I'm going to do next episode. So yeah, I've been busy, and it's mostly just been little grunt work and chores. Things that I've wanted to do for a long time but just haven't gotten around to it, like this operation. I'm definitely going to go with something like this in the future when I play. This is much better and faster than the damn IC2 metalformer. And I can still use these for other things, like if I have a plate that I don't like, I can just throw stuff down on there and it'll go through. So that's nice. I like it. What else? Has this thing gone through all of its stuff already? Nope, it's still cooking. Pretty happy with this situation. And this may become my new... Well, this is a luck pickaxe, and my other pickaxe. Right now I have silk touch on one pickaxe and luck on a hammer. But I'd actually probably will retire my hammer and take this pickaxe when my mechanical user is done with it, and I'll probably try adding one of those. What are those called? They're like, let's see, if we go tinker, they're like reach, or I think we got some as chest rewards, so I think they're in here somewhere. Expander, vertical, do you even lift? So we've got a couple of those, and there are other things too. So basically we might take that super pickaxe once our mechanical user is leveled it up a couple more levels, and actually turn it into our new version of the hammer, and make it cover a larger area. And it's fast. It is already up to 31.58, and I can put a few more levels of haste on it. It's going up pretty slow. Every block it breaks is 1, so I'll probably only get up to 12,800 before I stop doing this, but that's one more modifier. And then I can always take it out to my strip mine and blast through 50,000 blocks in a 20-minute period. Alright, let me pause and take a look at my notes and see if there's anything else going on that I should tell you about, and check our current runtime. I have no idea how long I've been babbling. And then I'll be back in a moment. Yeah, so I think that's all the stuff I've been doing over the last couple hours. So it's been a lot of work, and I've been multitasking like crazy, so it was sort of hard to film. But that's sort of what I've been up to. Yeah, so we're continuing to make a decent amount of sticky resin out of our pocket dimension rubber tree farm, so that's going okay. We got enough for everything that we needed to make the tier 5 controller, so that's good. This is all good to go. I just need to make it in pieces because I don't have the 126,000 or whatever it takes to autocraft this all in one step. but that's okay. I can do it in a couple steps. I got thousands of iron plates being made there. I just started up about 1,000 tin cables being made. So that's going on. So we'll just have to spread it out a bit unless we want to stop and expand our CPU for our ME system. But I can do a lot of individual chunks here in parallel, and that will vastly reduce the amount of CPU we need to do when we finally put all the results together. Actually, we could probably get another couple things going. Saturn, where the hell did that come from? Solar. We need to craft 3,800 coal. That's because I have it tearing it down from blocks. So that's a waste of CPU, so I can just do that. So let's see, coal. Sometimes you get so reliant on the system that you start doing things that are not particularly, tying up a bunch of CPU and a bunch of molecular assemblers to, do something this simple. It's probably unnecessary. So now instead of having my CPU trying to handle that, we now have all of that ready. Oops. And so now that's all done. Let's see. So that's the kind of stuff I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have enough of this redstone done the same way I'm doing the other one. I'm going to finish crafting these 8,000 plates. I'm going to make us 2,800 pulverized coal. That's simple enough. Or not. I guess I got my two biggest ones going on other stuff, but anyway, you get the picture. Sometimes, I think it's easy to get really carried away making these huge CPUs and huge ME systems, when sometimes it might be simpler and faster just to brute force a couple things. But yeah, that's about it. So, we're getting real close to having this tier 5 solar array done. I'm tempted to actually set this bad boy up. So, I have to make 121 solar cells. Eesh. Oh, those aren't hard actually. Wait, those are just these. Yeah, so I can do that. So I might make up 121 of these. And we might actually set up a tier 5 environmental tech solar array. The modifiers are easy. The structure frames, I've got that all programmed in because I've been working so much with the beacons and whatnot. 121 solar cells, I can do those pretty easy. So we might go ahead and just make this and set it up just so I can get a feel for what kind of power we're getting out of this. Now, the tier 6 one is a whole other piece of work. So for that one, this huge thing that we're doing now, trying to make 2 high voltage solar arrays, well, now we got to make 4 more of them. And we've got to do some other stuff here. There are pieces in here from all over the place and complicated. We have to have a draconic reactor core, so the tier 6 one, which is going to be the last thing we need to do. Oh, and to do any of this, we also have to make the ultimate crafting table. the green tier 4 crafting table. So yeah, we're not going to unfortunately be able to get this last square buttoned up until probably end game, like end game, as in while we're working through Draconic Evolution and Avaricia garbage. But, we got a few things like that left over. We got, a few things that require infinity this or something like that. And so we'll black hole this and black hole that. So we'll go back and clean up those dregs after advanced rocketry or during Draconic Evolution. Alright, so I'm just babbling at this point. I'm going to call it an episode, and next episode we will tear down our fusion reactor and build it bigger. So we'll expand this guy out to a square that fills most of this entire room and see how much more power we have. I'm hoping to get it up over, right now it's creating 1.6 million RF per tick. I would love to get it up to 3, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure how it calculates how much power it is. I assume it's based on how much magnets it is, but maybe it has something to do with toroid size, or maybe it's a complicated formula. What dictates how expensive it is to build is basically how many electromagnets you have. And so I'm not going to be quite doubling the electromagnets. We've got about 192 electromagnets, I think, for that toroid ring, and we're going to add 160 more. So if I had to guess, I would guess that, we're going to go up, 50, 60, 70%, but not necessarily, double or triple our output, but we shall see. Definitely I had to go with a smaller one first, mostly just to make sure that I could power the electromagnets. So you can see I've got flux points here. But now that I'm familiar with this and have built one before, and now that I have, flux points, I know that when I expand this out, I'm just going to want a flux point, every 4 or 5 blocks around the entire one for all four chunks of the toroids. So in other words, this is outside and top, and then that one down there is covering, inside and bottom electromagnets. So basically, I think I already made a bunch of more flux points. Maybe I didn't. Yes, 24 flux points. So I've got a bunch more flux points, so when we break this bad boy out, we can just spray power all over those electromagnets to get them up online. And I still have, now that I'm using flux points, I don't use any of my power cells or energy cubes or whatever, so we have whole bunches of energy cubes, and I've got 2 ultimate energy cubes here at 51 million each. And then we've got, what else? Oh, we've got all these power cells at like 10 million each. So we should have plenty of power to ignite the furnace. Now, the one thing I'm not sure about is when I crank this bad boy up, am I also going to have to crank up my pump action here? So right now I've maxed out the speed at 8 of 8 on these guys, and so there's a good chance that when I go up in this, I'm not going to be making enough deuterium anymore. So I may have to actually break this room out that direction, which will... Oh yeah, I've got this claim because that goes towards my mage tower, so that's good. So I might have to bust this out another 10, 20 in that direction, and make another pool and a bunch more mechanism pumps with filters in them to get heavy water out to feed the electrolyzer to turn the heavy water into deuterium. Right now I'm making plenty. I have, you know, backup tank here with almost 4,100 buckets in the backup there. And I've got another 153 buckets of heavy water here. 1,536 buckets here of heavy water. So I will have some time. It'll be real easy to tell at what rate I'm using this. If I start seeing, this buffer go down, I'll know that my rate of deuterium use is higher than I am producing it. And I'll be able to just quickly whip up. These are all auto-craftable now. So I'll just whip up another bank of, 8 or 10 of these and push the room out that way and put in another pool like this over there. So that's also probably going to happen when we upgrade this next episode. And the cooling, I think I have a ton of cooling left over, and our ender supply of magma crucible. So we suck up ender pearls and we melt them down, and we're using resonant ender to cool, to provide half the cooling. So this one tank here and this one active fluid cooler here provides half the cooling I need for this entire structure. All of these other ones up along the top and along the bottom over here are just water for the other half. But what we can do is when we get this bad boy bigger, we just might have to convert a few more tanks into resonant ender, and we should be fine for cooling. And I have this way throttled down. It's not spawning, this powered spawner is not bringing up Enderman that fast, as you can see. I should get something to suck up this experience in here now that I think about it. But anyway, see, they're not coming very fast, and that's because I have the power is just real slow to this thing, because I'm only powering it with this slow plutonium RTG. So I'm just using sort of a throttling of the power to keep this not spamming like crazy, because I don't need it to. So we can always pipe that in and make it go a lot faster if we need more resonant ender as well. Oh, and that reminds me. So one thing I do want to do is, I have no idea how much neutron fluid we're going to need, but this tank just filled up in the last 24 hours or so. So I should make another big portable tank for neutron fluid. We're at 1,536 buckets, and I think it's like one bucket per neutronium ingot, maybe. What am I doing? So neutronium ingot, yeah, one bucket turns one titanium iridium into one neutronium ingot. So we've got enough neutron fluid for 1,500 neutronium ingots. And I don't know what you use these for, and I don't know how many I'm going to need. But don't even know if I'm going to need that or that. So I may only need, like, this is probably what's going to be the biggest draw of them, is making infinity ingots. But even this only requires, a handful. If I need to use up all 1,500 neutronium or neutron fluid to make that much infinity ingots, I may start a new mod pack instead of finishing out this one, because there's bragging rights, but then there's also insanity, and I don't necessarily need to get that crazy. All right, I've babbled enough. Lots of stuff going on. I'm going to work another hour or two on getting some more stuff squared away so that we are ready to get into advanced rocketry after we have a higher power output. So I will talk to you again next time. Bye.